At that moment, immediately after the gun was first pointed at you, as the defendant is walking away, did you have any animosity towards Ills?
No, I never had a problem with Ills.
I believe you said that both you and Ills then walked down the street following after the defendant, but the two of you were walking together, correct?
I mean, it wasn't really following nobody, I'm just talking. They're all walking together, you know what I mean?
But you're headed in the same direction.
Yeah, he's at Argyle, yes.
And he's ahead of you, correct?
Yes.
All right. So as the defendant got to the street corner at the end of Argyle, where did he go?
I think he made a left on that street. He made a left.
Do you remember the name of the street?
No, I'm not from there.
Okay. And when he made a left, where did he go from there?
He kept going straight till he got about to the street, to the end of the street corner. Like where the stop sign is at.
Were you still behind him at that point?
Yeah.
Still walking in the same direction he was walking?
Yeah.
Now, from what you've described, going down to the end of the street, making a left, and going all the way to the stop sign, at that point, you knew he had a gun, correct?
Yeah, no, I think he had a gun.
He had just shown it to you.
Yes.
And was it that entire walk, that entire time that you were expressing to him how you feel?
Yes.
In what you already described as an angry tone or an elevated tone?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Why would you follow behind someone that you know is armed with a gun and verbally tell them how you feel in the way that you did?
I told you already because I felt like I would never see him again. And I felt like since he put it away in one of the busy streets in Hollywood, like he's...
So you, at that moment, did not believe that he would shoot you?
No.
Yeah. Did you believe at that moment that he would shoot you?
What do you mean? Can you say it again?
The way that I asked the question before was a double negative, so your answer's not clear. So I just want to ask it a different way. Did you believe at that moment that he would shoot you?
At what moment when I'm walking with him?
When he's first walking away and you're walking in the same direction that he's walking?
No. Well, I don't know. To be honest, I wasn't thinking straight at that moment. I had a lot on my mind. I just wanted to get what was on my chest off.
Do you think you would have reacted differently in this situation had that been a stranger that first pulled the gun?
What do you mean?
Meaning, if a stranger pulled a gun on you, do you think you'd walk after them and essentially...
No, because I have no business. I mean, I got away from a life-threatening situation. But in that situation, I felt like maybe he put the gun away and seeing Jamel with the knife, it furthered me wanting to say what was on my chest.
Okay. When you got to the area where the stop sign was that you described, you made the left turn, you walked to the stop sign, that's what you said, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Who was the first person that got to where the stop sign was?
Rocky.
And then who was the next person?
Jamel.
And then after that?
It was basically like me and Ed. It was kind of...
And when you got to the stop sign area with Ills, what was the next thing that happened?
I'm still talking, but then I see Rocky turn around. Can I explain what happened?
Yes.
So I see Rocky turn around. When he turned around, he was like, kind of looked like a movie. The whole thing looked like a movie, like, you know what I mean? So he kind of like pointed down. He shot the first shot. When he shot the first shot, I felt my hand hot, so I grabbed it. Used him as a shield. He's going around trying to shoot me between the elbows. 12B is off to the side. I'm not really worried about him. I'm just trying to like not get hit at this point.
You said, as you were saying that he had the gun out, you had your right arm extended about shoulder high.
Yeah, because he kind of like when he turned around, he kind of like his back was turned, like it was kind of like just you turn around, the gun's there, and he kind of like jumped when he shot, and kind of shot down, like, you know what I'm saying?
The gun that he was holding, did it look like the same gun that he pulled on you at the parking lot?
Yeah.
And when you say he shot down, what do you mean by that?
Like, I mean, like it was kind of like this. It wasn't like he pointing and doing, but it wasn't like aiming at you. It was kind of like that. So he, like I said, it was like a movie, kind of like boom, and then like just running around trying to like get me.
Okay, the motion he made with his arm, Your Honor.
Describe it.
Yeah, so he had his arm extended out, and then as he was saying he shot down, he lifted his arm up to about head high, and then had his pointer finger sort of pointed forward but in a downward trajectory.
Yeah, it was higher than this. Do it again.
Well, I don't really remember, but from what like, it was more like it was fast. He turned around, and then it was like boom. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
not like, but like.
Okay. You said that as he shot the gun the first time, you said your hand felt hot, correct?
Yeah.
Where on your hand felt hot?
My left hand.
Where?
Left hand. Just right above my knuckles. Like my knuckles right here, below my knuckles. So it's right here. And if I was to fall, you would see other injuries on that picture from that day from my knuckles and all around here. That's why. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay, yeah. I just have to, when you point this out, I have to describe it. So
my knuckle, my
what
hand,
he's
I still
pointing
got
to,
the
Your
mark
Honor,
from that day.
what he's pointing to are the middle knuckles on his left hand. Kind of, he has his hand sort of curled and going across.
Yeah, right there. So it's
Hold on. Both hands off at the same time.
All right, you hear the victim talking about, boom, what he heard, how the gun was being held. We are going to hit that pause button when we come back. We'll get you back in for more testimony directly from the victim's mouth as to what he says happened. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to Court TV Live. Thanks for joining us. We are in California where testimony is underway in the trial for rap star A$AP Rocky. He is facing 2 felony assault charges after prosecutors say that he fired a gun at a childhood friend, Terell Ephron, back in 2021. Ephron is back on the stand today. We want to go back in to hear more of his testimony on direct examination by the state.
I think I was done. He motioned with his right hand across his left hand middle knuckles.
Ask another question.
You said that you then got behind Hills, correct?
I dashed to him. I got right to him and then just grabbed him.
How did Hills react to this?
Oh, he was like petrified. He was screaming. After he literally said, "You could have got me killed." And I said, "What? You came with him?"
Wait, I want to stay right at that moment, though. I don't want to jump ahead. So right at that moment, you're saying he was petrified, correct?
Petrified.
Physically, what did he do? Did he move at all?
He was petrified. I grabbed him, and he's like screaming, "No, no, no!" And I'm using him every which way.
When you say petrified, though, is he moving at all, or is he standing still?
Yeah, he's trying to move, and then he dropped his body.
Okay. And were you intentionally trying to position Hills between you and the defendant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody that would have been there, I would have did that, especially if we came with him.
And then, Jamel, what did he do?
I don't know because I'm too busy grabbing Hills. I don't really see what 12 is. He's off to the side. I see him off to the side the whole time, but I don't really know what's going on. I don't even see them running off really. Like, I'm still dealing like with Hills literally telling me if I could have got him killed while I'm just running off.
Right. Again, I don't want to jump ahead. I want to stay right at the moment when the shots are fired.
Okay.
Are you saying as the defendant is fires the first shot, you then move around the hills. You're not paying attention to 12, so you're not entirely sure what he did.
No, I'm not really sure what Toby was doing.
Okay. Then after the first gunshot, what did you see the defendant do? Physically, what did he do with his body?
Oh, he's running up, and he shot again.
What does running up mean?
Like he's running and shooting, like he's trying to like find. He's trying to look for a way to shoot because if I wasn't grabbing the ills, I mean.
Did he physically come closer to you?
Yeah.
And
he got close.
You're saying
the whole time it was close, but he got really close.
You were saying that he was trying to move motion around hills, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna move to some video again.
Is this a new exhibit or?
No, same exhibit. It is People 15. Is the file that's labeled sequence surveillance video from People's 15. I have it right now on the video player at the bottom. It's paused at 31 seconds into this video file. And it stopped there. Mr. Ephron, do you see the larger video in the background?
Yes.
It's mostly gray.
Yes.
Do you recognize that area that we're looking at there?
Other than that day.
All right. I'm talking specifically about that day. Can you orient yourself on what you're seeing from that part of the video?
I mean, to the far right, that's where the curve is at. That's where the curve is at in the stop sign where like the incident happened.
Can you point to it with the pointer?
So pretty much we walked right here, and Rocky got to like right around.
Keep your voice up.
I said we got to like right here, and then as soon as like he got into the street around right here, that's when the shooting took place.
Okay. I would say he's pointing to the top left-hand corner in where the street area is that we can see. Okay.
Right, and it's across from that orange wall barricade there, where that is.
That's accurate.
Sure. All right, I'm going to play the video, and then I'll go back and ask some more questions about it. All right, we'll start finding some good watch. Seconds. Go back. I'll ask you some questions. So let's start at the beginning, Mr. Ephron. I know it's going to be hard to see from here, but from taking you back to that night, you see the person that we can see best at the top left-hand corner, kind of in the middle of that street. Can you see that person?
Yeah.
Who was that?
Rocky.
Okay. There's another individual.
No, red jacket.
Okay. Let me just finish the question because the court reporter has to take everything down. So that would be just above him and maybe just slightly to the left. There's another person there. You're saying that's Jamel?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And then you and Ills.
Still with us, Marie Pereira and Philip Dubé, both of whom live in California, specifically in LA. And Marie, let me start with you because I know that you were there yesterday at this courthouse for this trial. Tell us a little bit about the vibe. We saw the media frenzy and all the photographers as ASAP Rocky was going into court earlier today. What did you learn?
I actually was in the area dealing with another matter in the same courtroom, and I popped in to see what was going on. I learned a lot. I went early and I found out where the courtroom was, and there was a conference between the judge and the attorneys in the absence of the jurors. And I called it a conference, but it was more like a brawl. The judge literally had to say this is a no squabble zone. We had Tacopino accusing the prosecutors of harassing Rihanna's family and going up to her, harassing ASAP's mother and telling her, you know, no hard feelings, we're just prosecuting the case on behalf of the people. Do you think that it's a good idea that he turned down our plea because, you know, this is a very serious case and our offer was a great offer? So Tacopino complained about that. And then the prosecutor, Mr. Lewin, complained that Tacopino basically told TMZ that he was going to beat him up. He speaks loud, he's scary, he's intimidating, and it was just like a back and forth, and the judge had to shut it down and issue a gag order and said, I don't want you guys talking to each other unless it's specifically about the case. I don't want anyone speaking to the press. Stop it. This is a no harassment zone, no arguments, no squabble. It was actually very, very interesting.
Now, Philip, let me ask you before we get to the content of what the victim was saying, is this typical or unusual in your experience in a courtroom there in LA?
Not at all, frankly. You don't want to necessarily put everything on the record. You go to sidebar to alert the judge that there may be some type of conflict or argument or yelling or carrying on in the gallery, and that bailiffs need to be ready to kind of subdue and keep the peace. And that's exactly what the role of the bailiff is. And rather than calling everybody out in open court on the record, you tell the judge quietly. And that way he can alert his bailiff and they can kind of keep the peace. So we see this all the time, particularly in the gang cases, we see it. We also see it in the homicide cases where the families have several victims and representatives of the victims in court who all want justice. And there's a lot of pent-up anger, pent-up energy, and tempers are flaring, and a lot of people are really out to get the defendant. And then you have people on the defendant's side who are there really to root and support him or her. And as a result, there's this sort of polarized energy between the victim's family and the defendant's family and friends, and that's why you need bailiffs to kind of separate them all and keep the peace. Otherwise, you're going to get somebody leaping over and attacking the judge, like we saw in Vegas, remember?
Yes.
Nobody could subdue the guy, and before you know it, the lady's getting choked out behind the bench.
Yep.
So really, it's designed to protect the court.
It is designed to protect the court, and as a former judge, I can tell you I constantly had to make sure I was managing the courtroom, doing things like issuing a gag order when it was necessary to not just protect the court, but to protect everyone coming into the court and the community. We have to take a break. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll hear more from the victim alleging that he was shot at by ASAP Rocky. Stay tuned.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a Florida teen who shot and killed his father now stands trial for stabbing his mother. We're diving deeper into today's opening statements and testimony.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV. This week,
a Florida teen, a famous rapper, and a Hollywood wife all facing justice. We're breaking down what to expect each day in our biggest trials.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Back now to Los Angeles, where testimony is underway in the trial of Rakim Mayers, also known as ASAP Rocky. He's charged with felony assault with a semi-automatic firearm. Prosecutors say his relationship with former friend Terell Ephron began to sour back in 2021, and it all resulted in a standoff when Mayers allegedly pulled a gun on Ephron and, in a later confrontation, fired shots that grazed his knuckles. Let's get you back inside this LA courtroom now. Ephron is still on the stand testifying on direct examination by the state.
At the street corner?
I don't know, it's kind of blurry.
That's
I can't really see if that's a hydrant or like people I can't really see.
That's right. Let me play it forward a little bit. If you watch them. But with that, as your memory from that day, would that be the area that you recall being at?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to play it forward just a little. Did you see the movement of those two people that I was pointing to just a few seconds ago?
Wait, go back?
Sure. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Was one of those individuals you?
Yes.
And the other one was Hills?
Yes.
And what motion did you see yourself take on the video?
Like running towards Hills.
Okay. Would you have been farther to the left-hand side of the screen just slightly?
Yeah, I'm on the left. Hills would be on the right.
And, okay. Then we go back just a little. Start again at 35 seconds. The person that we see moving forward, is that still the defendant?
Yeah, so I'm kind of like running around Hills at that point while Rocky's like, it's like a circle. Everything's happening like a circle.
I'm gonna go back and restart at about 35 seconds. Can you focus? This time I'm gonna ask you to focus on the person who said it's 12 and tell us where you see that person go. Okay? All right, and I'm pausing it at 42 seconds. Where did you see 12 go?
He ran across the wall.
Okay, I have paused here at 42 seconds. Would it be this person here?
Yeah. Yes.
And do you remember what this area was at all? I know.
No idea.
Okay. But was there a wall here? Is that what this white object is? All right. Did he make that motion right as the gunshot started happening?
Yes, he did.
Okay. I'm going to play it forward. And I'm going to stop it at 50 seconds. If you need me to go back, I will, but did you see what you and Ills were doing at that part that I just played? That's short.
I'm gonna go back. I was looking at Jamel still.
That's fine. Started back at 47 seconds. Oh, hold on. Go back a little farther. Started at 42 seconds. Stop it at 51. Did you see what the two of you were doing?
Yeah, so after Ills dropped his body, I probably was just looking to see where he was before I just run off or continue back down like Hollywood where I was at before.
Okay. When you say Ills dropped his body, what do you mean by that?
Like he physically just dropped, like his weight.
Did you do anything to push him to the ground?
No.
Did you strike him?
No, of course not.
Did you throw any punches towards him?
No.
So, are you describing him essentially dropping his body to try to get away from you? Because you're trying to hold him?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you personally go to the ground as he dropped his body?
Yeah, as he dropped. So I like kind of dropped with him. You can see me like almost dropped, but looking back to see, kind of.
All right. And then fair to say at that point, that's when the defendant was running.
Yeah, you can see Jamel like pushing him away at that point.
All right, I'm gonna play another video file. This video file is called combined surveillance video.
So part 15?
Yes, on the same drive. And right now I have it paused at 46 seconds. Mr. Ephron, would you agree this appears to be the same camera angle?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to play it forward. And I'll pause it in a second. I'm going to pause it at 54 seconds. Does this look like a zoomed in version of that, in that area where you're describing this interaction happened?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to play the video forward from here. I'll ask you some questions. Stop it at 1 minute, 16 seconds. I want to go back to asking a few follow-up questions.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you just identify what exhibit this is?
It's 15.
Blown up.
The video is called combined surveillance video. So if you want to see, there's
Not the sequence.
there's sequence, there's combined, and then there's the 3 files.
They're all part of it.
Yes.
This one's combined surveillance video.
Thank you to Marie Pereira and Philip Dubé for joining me today. Stay with us. We're going to bring you more from the alleged victim in the trial of ASAP Rocky. We'll be right back. Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Top low cost.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala.
And I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott. Court TV is tracking 3 big cases. In Florida, opening statements and testimony began today in the much-anticipated deadly son murder trial of 17-year-old Colin Griffith. He is accused of stabbing his mother to death, but claims she attacked him. The year before his mother's death, Griffith also killed his father in Oklahoma, claiming self-defense. Now, that case remains open.
In California, the celebrity stylist murder trial of Monica Cementilli resumed today, with the state picking up where it left off in its very lengthy opening statement.
Also in California, celebrity superstar Rihanna is in the courtroom to support her partner ASAP Rocky. Rocky is facing assault charges after he allegedly shot a gun at a friend. The alleged victim, Terell Ephron, returns to the stand for a second day. Now, Michael Ephron, also known as ASAP Rocky, continued testifying about the shooting as the defendant, ASAP Rocky, whose real name is Rakim Mayers, looked on. There is word from media members at the courthouse that the rapper's partner, Rihanna, is inside the courtroom. But, Michael, I'm unfortunately a little, well, I'm disappointed. There's no video of her arriving at the court.
Well, Ephron claims that Mayers shot at him after the two got into an argument outside of a hotel in Hollywood in November of 2021. The defense argues that Mayers had a starter pistol and didn't shoot a 9mm gun, as investigators claim. All right, we're going to head back into court now for more testimony. Terell Ephron still on the stand.
All right. Starting at about 50 seconds. Zooms in. Again, just so we're all on the same page of who we're talking about, where it's paused at 55 seconds here. This individual here in the sort of in the middle of the street area, that's the defendant, correct?
Yes.
The person just to the left of him and slightly above him?
Jamel.
Okay. And then it's hard to see where you and Hills would be, but could you agree you'd be?
Wait, don't, you both can't talk at the same time.
That's okay. You'd be towards the left here, closer to the corner of the street, correct?
Correct.
going to play it forward and I'm going to pause it at 1 minute and 2 seconds. Can you make out which person you are, Mr. Ephron?
Right in this picture?
Yeah, where is posture at 1 minute and 2
I
seconds?
know one with the white Air Forces. It's really hard to tell what the white Air Forces. Oh,
I love you.
I can see it better on here than on the big screen for some reason. But over here it looks way better.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
I'm in this figure, whatever this is right here, but on here you can actually see it more.
Can you actually see on your back, Mr. Ephron, the design that was on the back of your sweatshirt?
Yes.
Okay. In that video, can you point to where the design is? If you can see it on the big screen.
White.
So it's say right in the middle of the top of the where the image is paused on.
To be precise, it looks like a white circle on your body.
Okay. And I'll play this video over here. And I'm stopping at 1 minute and 14 seconds. At this point, have you and Ills separated from each other?
Yes.
And why did you let him go at that point?
Because I've probably seen Rocky running off already.
Okay. You described the first shot, the motion the defendant made with his hand as he shot the first shot. Was the second shot any different from that?
I don't know at that point. I'm ducking.
You weren't really paying attention to it?
No, I just was really just trying to grab Ills.
Okay. 1 second. Do you recall, I'm going to show you people's 7. Do you recognize that area at all?
Yeah.
And what is that area?
That's what happened.
Okay. Where the 2 shots were fired, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You say yes?
Yes.
When these shots were first fired, can you point for the jury to a spot that is near where you were on that street?
I was coming down here, and I probably got to around like right here, I believe, and Rocky was like right here.
Okay.
And they got like around, then they got all around this area kind of.
You know, Your Honor, actually, I think what may be easier, I'm going to have him just mark on the photograph itself. It's people 7. Let's do, for you, can you put an X where you would be when the first shot would happen?
Probably hop off the curb a little bit, which is like right there.
Okay, and then do a triangle for where the defendant was. Okay. Hey. Back up. Okay, a little better. The X you made is right here, correct?
Yes.
And fair to say that it was closer to the curb?
Yes.
And where you're describing was right by the corner, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And then the triangle that you made for the defendant is here more in the middle of the street on Vista Del Mar, correct?
Yes.
Okay. As the defendant was shooting at you, Was it your belief that the gun that he was using was a real gun or a fake gun?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. Did you believe, as the defendant was shooting at you, that he was shooting a real gun or a fake gun?
Oh, it was a real gun.
And what led you to believe that it was a real gun?
I mean, I was hit. I was hit.
Was there anything else about it?
Wouldn't know the difference between. I mean, I don't know how would you. Somebody shooting at you. I don't know how to answer that. Kind of.
Okay. Sir.
And I wasn't like I was grazed. I wasn't hit. I didn't have a hole in my hand or nothing. It was just like that's what it was. You know.
At the moment that he first started firing at you, what would you estimate would be the distance between the two of you? And if it's easier to point to something in the courtroom, you can do that.
On the first shooting?
Yes.
Probably like where I'm at from where you at, probably, I guess. Or a little bit further. I don't know.
Distance, you where Mr. Grisler's standing?
Yeah.
It's approximately 15 feet from where you're standing.
Okay. By the time he fired the second shot, what was the distance?
A little further, like a little. It was. Yeah, around there. Yeah.
Sorry. Which shot were you talking about?
The first one, it was like 15 to like 15, maybe around there, yeah. 3 years ago.
You said on the second shot that he moved a little closer to you. What would you estimate would be the distance of that one?
Oh, he was right up on us. I'm saying us because it was me and Hills. And I thought it was a bunch of shots because I'm just trying to like, you literally just duck underneath Hills, do whatever. Which way he was going, I'm putting Hills towards him.
How many shots did you believe that he fired at you?
At the time, I believe it was 3 or 4.
In fact, when you reported this to the police, how many shots did you tell them that he fired at you?
I believe 3 or 4.
And did you tell that to multiple police officers?
I did.
Was there anything that happened after you reported this to police that caused you to change your opinion on how many shots he fired?
No.
So you still, as you sit here right now, is it your testimony that he fired either 3 or 4 shots at you?
I mean, I've seen the video, so I understand it was 2 shots now.
That's what I mean. Okay, so as you sit here now, it's your belief he fired 2 shots at you, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But when you initially reported it, you reported it as 3 or 4 shots.
Yeah. Because it sounded like that. We're in like a closed, it's real loud. You know what I'm saying?
You said that what changed your opinion was that you watched a video, correct?
Oh yeah, the preliminary hearing.
Okay.
Was the first time I seen the actual like, the sound of the shots.
Your Honor, with the court judicial notice that the preliminary hearing was November 8th of 2023?
I don't have the transcript. Does anybody agree that was
That's right, yes.
Okay. So between the date of this incident, November 6th, 2021 to November 8th, 2023, in those 2 years you believe that it was 3 or 4 gunshots, correct?
Yes.
And then after you watched the video that had sound, at the preliminary hearing, you changed you understood then that it was 2 gunshots, correct?
Yeah, yes. I mean, truthfully, I thought it was way more, but I'm going off of the video because mentally I thought I got shot at a lot of times.
Okay. If you can, just clarify for us, when you're referring to something, if it's based on your memory or from watching the video. Can you do that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask to mark my next exhibit.
17.
showing you what's marked as People's 17. Do you recognize what you see there?
Yeah.
And what is that?
That's my left hand.
And do you know who took this picture?
Probably was off my phone.
This is the picture you took?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know when you took this picture?
Probably the day after or the day, that day.
So you're thinking either November 6th or November 7th?
Or 8th, I don't know.
Okay, that's fair. Somewhere within a day or two of the actual shooting?
Yeah.
And the red marks that we see on your pointer finger, middle finger, and slightly on your ring finger there, what caused those injuries?
A graze, I believe. Because like what I said, I felt something hot. And if I was to fall on my hand, I'm not no expert or anything, but if I was to fall on my hand or anything, my knuckles at the top would be messed up and everything else would be messed up. It just was right here.
Okay. So
I weighed 210 pounds. Probably at that time I weighed 190. So.
All right, we'll cut in here, take a break. But before we do want to have this update for you in the Ponzi scheme murder trial of Natalie Cochran. Well, the jury reached a verdict today.
In the case of State of West Virginia versus Natalie Page Cochran, case number 23-F-343K, the jury verdict is as follows. We, the jury on the issues, joined unanimously find the following. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree.
Cochran was left stunned after the jury returned its verdict after less than 2 hours of deliberations.
She later broke down in tears. Tomorrow will begin the mercy phase of the trial. If the jury grants mercy, the judge will then decide if her sentence should run concurrent or consecutive to her 11-year federal sentence for defrauding investors in a Ponzi scheme. A no mercy decision means she will be sentenced to life without parole.
And ahead in our next hour, Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft, she actually spoke with the victim's mother, the prosecutor, and the defense attorney. She'll have their reaction in a live report. You don't want to miss that.
All right, let's take that break now. When we return, of course, we'll get you back to the assault trial of rapper A$AP Rocky inside a Los Angeles courtroom. The alleged victim continues testifying about the night of the shooting. Keep it here on your front row seat to justice.
He thinks I'm going to kill her. And then I want to kill her.
Do you? A troubled teen who fatally shot his own father.
Now stands accused for the murder of his mother.
I'm not a psychopath. I'm not this murderer.
Was it an argument that led to a tragic accident?
Or a fit of rage that ended in cold-blooded murder.
Everybody that's special to him in his life is dead. The Deadly Son murder trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Before we get you back to the assault trial of rapper A$AP Rocky, let's bring in criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. Josh, thank you, of course, for joining both of us as we are watching this case unfold. And to me, it all hinges on the credibility of the victim. Tell us how you think he's doing during his direct examination.
You know, I think he's caught in between this kind of cultural rock and a hard place. He's already getting lambasted in a lot of social media. There are several externalities outside of criminal defense and prosecution that are at play here, notably the alleged affiliation with this record label and rap collective and group, and whether this is a form of snitching or whether he's being forced or jammed up, or what is he trying to do. And I think he's trying to be honest and truthful to the best way he can, but there's certainly room to poke holes into what's going on. I did love the elicited testimony of, how do you know it was a real gun? I got shot. That's pretty strong testimony in my experience.
What I also thought worked for him, and I think it was important to bring out, was this idea similar to what you're talking about. They asked him about why he didn't ever want to really fight A$AP Rocky. And he said, it would essentially ruin my career. Nobody would want to do business. He's kind of in that place now. He testified, since this, everybody thinks I'm a snitch, and I'm still coming forward. And I found that that added some credibility, Josh.
I absolutely agree, and I think that is kind of ripping off that bandage to get to some integrity of, listen, I'm in trouble either way. There's no clear path where if I lie, I'm good to go, because he's gonna get pulled up short by one person or another, no matter what happens with this testimony. So I really did like that honesty, and it was really vulnerability from someone that's probably not used to sharing a lot of vulnerability.
And it's a lot to put on the table for a civil suit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
So, you know, again, I think it added credibility. All right, Josh, stand by. We're going to get folks back into court now, where the alleged victim in the assault trial of rapper A$AP Rocky still on the stand, still on direct examination.
In the time after the defendant and 12E ran away, where it's just you and Elle, I know you say it's a second. Was there anything that happened between you and Ilse at that time?
No, the only thing Ilse said, and I put that on everything on whatever, but he said, you literally almost got me killed. And I looked at him and just said, what? You came with him. That was the only thing that was said between me and Ilse.
So there was a brief conversation?
Real brief.
Did you physically assault him?
No, never hit Ilse. Never. And Ilse actually has a broken jaw. Like, he cannot get hit in the face. He has like a wired jaw because Rocky's cousin broke his jaw.
Okay. Your Honor, Jack has been stricken, not responsive.
Just and the testimony is straight. Can you read the first couple of words? Read the question, please.
Did you physically assault him? The question is, did you physically assault him?
Yeah, that calls for yes or no. Did you physically assault him?
No. No.
That night, November 6, 2021, did you know of any physical sensitivities that Ilse had?
Excuse me?
Yeah, did you know that Ilse had suffered an injury before November 6, 2021?
Did I know that?
Hold on.
You can answer.
Did I know he had like a permanent broken jaw?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We go back briefly to the surveillance video. Let's stay with this same file, Your Honor.
15 on 15?
Yeah, but the file label combines surveillance video. Briefly. The video paused at 2 minutes and 47 seconds. If you could watch it, I'll play it. I'm going to play a couple seconds and then I'll go back and ask you a question, okay?
Yes.
All right, I'm pausing it at 2:54. So let's go back to 2:47. I'll pause it here at 2:48. Do you see the individuals at the sort of towards the bottom right-hand corner of the screen there?
Yes, I do.
You see the person who's walking in front appears to be wearing a black sweatshirt, and the person behind has a red jacket on?
Yes.
Do you recognize who the person in the black sweatshirt is?
Yes, Rocky.
And who's the person in the red jacket?
Jamel.
Mel, that's the person you also referred to as 12, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We need to take a break, but first we have an update out of Massachusetts, where it was day 2 of the socialite manslaughter trial for Penny McGee. Prosecutors say that 66-year-old Andrew Savitz died of heart complications after McGee became physical with him during an argument.
Now, earlier today, the court heard from a responding officer who testified that McGee told him that it was actually Savitz who had become physical with her during that fight. Take a listen.
She said that at approximately 22:45 hours, she had come to the house to discuss with Mr. Savitz an email that she had received. And then at a certain point, the conversation had turned into a verbal altercation where he started to yell at her to ask her to leave the house. At some point, she stated that he had pushed her several times, to a point once pushing her up against the wall in the living room area, and then another time pushing her towards the kitchen room area, towards the kitchen table, which knocked down some plates and some other things off the table. And then from there, as they were moving around in the area, he had pushed her up against the refrigerator, and then heading towards the hallway, towards the front door, he had at some point grabbed her by the hair and also was pushing her during all that time, asking her to leave the house. After pushing her up against the refrigerator and pulling her hair and pushing her towards the hallway, is at that point where she had collapsed, and she stated that she started CPR on him.
Testimony resumes in that case tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern.
All right, we'll take that break now. Up next, we'll get you back to the trial of A$AP Rocky on the other side. So keep it here on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott.
And I'm Michael Ayala. We are continuing our coverage in the assault trial of rapper A$AP Rocky, whose real name is Rakim Mayers. His childhood friend, Terell Ephron, also known as A$AP Relly, is on the stand testifying that Mayers fired a gun at him outside of a hotel back in November of 2021 because of some long-standing beef between the two, and that bullet apparently grazed his knuckles.
We have learned A$AP Rocky's partner, celebrity superstar Rihanna, was in court today, but there's no video of her arriving or of her in the courtroom. Right now, we want to get you back into court, where the alleged victim is still testifying on direct examination by the state.
Last person I want to show you on this video, have it paused at 3 minutes and 51 seconds. You see there's only one person depicted in the video here, kind of in the middle of the screen?
Yes.
Do you recognize who that person is?
Yes, Elijah.
And same person you've also been referring to as Bills?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. You mentioned that in your testimony just before that you have watched the surveillance video as part of this case, correct?
That's correct.
At least some of it. Is that
Yes.
correct? Do you know when you first reviewed any surveillance video in this case?
I believe the DA called me to identify in a video if that was Rocky and like the first shooting. I think that was it.
Okay. Did you meet with police officers before you met with any deputy DAs associated with this case?
What do you mean?
Yeah, did you meet with police officers or police detectives before you talked to any prosecutors?
No.
The first person you talked to in this case was a prosecutor?
Oh, no, I talked to the police. Yeah, the police.
All right. When was the first time that you talked to the police? You don't have to give us a date, but you can say it was.
When I obtained a lawyer and walked into Los Angeles Police Department.
How close in time was that to the shooting?
Well, I hit up a lawyer the same night, but it was late, so he advised me I forgot what it was he advised me of at that time, but then I ended up going back and getting the actual bullets myself.
Okay, hold on.
And taking pictures of the cameras.
How many, I guess my question is, are you talking about you went to the police within minutes, hours, days, weeks, months? Can you give us just a time period?
No, so I had to wait for the lawyer, and then I sent them everything that I like, the text messages, everything.
You're not answering my question.
Oh.
Give us just a time period. Don't tell me what you did. Just say it was within hours, minutes, days, months. How soon after this?
Did I go to the police station?
Yes.
The next day.
Okay. Did this incident happened late at night on November 6th, correct?
I'll have to see.
Well, it was dark out.
Yeah, I know it was late, but I don't, like I said, it was 3 years ago. I don't remember the dates, and I don't remember streets at this point. I just remember what happened.
That's fair. But when you say the next day, is it possible that instead of being on the 7th, it was on the 8th that you went to the police department?
Yeah, so pretty much I was just waiting for the lawyer to respond back. So I had my business partner.
Stay. It's not responsible.
Okay.
Where do we get grounds for when he makes it? It's not responsible. Could we have the defense state grounds instead of his objection when they just as responsible? I was asking the future. Like I said, did you say no? You just said objection.
Just said objection. I thought it was pretty obvious.
Can we just ask in the future that he,
If you decide has to object, just say objection and the legal basis.
Thank you.
Okay. So the first time you reported this to the police, you say was within a day, either November 7th or November 8th of the shooting, correct?
Yeah, so pretty much I just wanted to wait for my lawyer.
That's just a yes or no, please.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Now, when you reported this to the police, how did you do that? Did you call 911? Did you call the station? Did you go to the station?
No, we just walked in.
Oh, do you remember which police station you walked into?
It was Hollywood or I know it was, Hollywood police station. I don't really remember.
And was there a police officer at the front desk that you talked to?
Yes.
And did you tell that police officer essentially what had happened during this incident?
I did.
After you talked to that police officer, did you talk to another police officer from that same station after him?
I don't remember.
Okay. Ultimately, did you meet with...
I talked with so many people, like the lawyers, like with everything. It was just, I don't remember.
That's what I'm trying to... That's what I'm trying to unpack here now.
Okay.
So you talked to a police officer at the station. Did you then talk to a detective?
I think a detective came out because once I handed him the bullets, I think and he seen the lawyer I was with, I think that's when he took it serious and had somebody come out. I think I remember clearly.
Did you later talk to another set of detectives after that first detective that you talked to?
Man, they called me so many times, I don't even remember.
Is it fair to say you talked to a number of people about this incident from the police department?
Yes.
Okay. Did all of those conversations that you're talking about so far occur before you watched the surveillance video in this case?
It happened before I watched it.
So had you seen the surveillance video when you walked into the Hollywood police station to talk to the officer at the desk?
No, I didn't see no video.
When the detective from the Hollywood station called you, had you seen the video at that point?
I think they called me into LA, I forgot when, to identify. I think it was seriously 8 months later or 7 months, I don't remember, it was a long time.
So was it police officers that showed you the video for the first time?
Yeah, they did.
Okay. But had you already told what had happened before watching the video?
Yes.
As you sit here right now, do you remember the date that you first saw the video?
No.
And the video that you watched first, do you remember what was in the video that you watched?
It was the one of Rocky coming up to me and brandishing the gun, like where we had like the first initial, like when we see each other.
Time to slide in another break, but first we have this programming note. Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a chilling story from Colorado. A teen confesses to the cold-blooded murder of a homeless man. He was caught after his mom found the victim's decapitated head and hands in his bedroom.
Because I always wanted to know what it felt like to cut up someone. Okay. So, So why did you stop? Where did you stop? Because the arms were just, that's it, and that's all I wanted to know was like cutting off the limb, and I'm just like, okay.
Vinny will have the chilling body cam of the killer teen's arrest and interrogation, and you won't believe what else he tells investigators he did to the victim after killing him. Remember, that's tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, beginning at 9 Eastern Time.
Yeah, that is not one to miss. Coming up next, we'll take you back to the assault trial of rapper A$AP Rocky. The alleged victim testifies about how the shooting affected him. Keep it here on Court TV Live.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a Florida teen who shot and killed his father now stands trial for stabbing his mother. We're diving deeper into today's opening statements and testimony.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
He was an icon. They are in for the fight of their lives.
All right, folks, before we head back to court, let's bring back in criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer to discuss. Josh, that last bit of testimony was interesting. I'm not sure whether he went to the police first or did he go to a lawyer first, but I'll be honest with you, based on what we heard earlier about how this whole thing, and he knew how it could affect him, and just leading up to this particular confrontation, he had lost a client. Some of the record companies didn't want to talk to him because of the beef he was having with Rocky. I can understand him thinking that this might be a better civil situation than actually going to the police and maybe being labeled a snitch.
Absolutely, and we get these kinds of calls as practitioners where someone will call with a situation and want to know what that next step is, and we have to explain to them that the moment you involve law enforcement, which can absolutely be the 100% best thing for you to do, it can be basically mandatory, but the moment you include law enforcement, you lose control of your story, you lose control of your narrative, you're now subject to a state agency interpreting what you said and doing with it what they want. So often we hear stories about people calling law enforcement because they want help, and the help ends up being an arrest or something that they're not intending. Law enforcement's going to do their job, regardless of whether you want them to do or what you want them to do. If they see a crime, they're almost certainly going to act upon it, and that's kind of what it appears was going through his mind before he decided to enter that police station.
Yeah, I think you're right. Tell us quickly what you think of this, the gag order issued by the court. It's a media frenzy. Both sides were squabbling with each other, and the court said, no more squabbling. We're not doing this. Gag order. I'm not surprised. Your thoughts?
I'm not surprised. It's not super enforceable. I think it would be interesting if push really came to shove, but it was a shot across the bow to some pretty experienced lawyers who are known to go out there and stir the pot. You want to stay away from manipulating the jury pool or turning a trial into a circus, especially one in California with a famous rapper. This has so much potentiality. I don't blame the judge. Don't think it's super enforceable, but I wouldn't want to break the rule anyway. I wouldn't want to test the judge. He's been great.
Yeah, I agree.
And Josh, finally, there's this civil suit sitting out there, actually being brought by the attorneys for Johnny Depp, so he's got some pretty powerful and good attorneys behind him. But how much does it affect that suit whether ASAP is convicted in this case or not?
Good question.
Huge. And you know, as we get more advanced, as our justice system involves the criminal and civil justice systems intertwine more and more, because this is a criminal act as well as a civil claim, and depending on what happens in one, it can affect the other. And this goes back well before trial. We're talking about how discovery took place, because discovery in a criminal case is different than civil. This result will absolutely determine what happens in the civil case.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Whew, this is a big case. Let's go back into court now. The alleged victim continues his testimony, the state asking questions on direct examination.
After the incident?
Yes.
I haven't seen Elijah since.
In person?
In person.
Now, if there's an allegation that Elijah suffered an injury because of this, was there anything that you saw that that you could speak to what Elijah looked like after this incident? Yes. If there's an allegation that Ills suffered an injury because of this incident, did you have any opportunity to see Ills' face after this incident?
I did, because one of them posted a video and I took a snapshot of them all eating. They went out to eat the next day after the shooting.
Okay. And where did you see that video?
It was on, I forget whose story mode, but it was one of them, but it was like burritos. He even had his girlfriend there and a bunch of people eating, and he was toasting. And I just figured I'd take a snapshot.
And could you see Ills in that video?
Oh yeah, you can.
And you took a photograph of that?
I did.
Mark my next. 18. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
And is this the screenshot that you're talking about that you took?
It is.
And the video you watched was on November 8th, correct?
I don't really remember how to see, but yes.
Okay. But you're saying
off my phone, you can see it.
Are you saying you don't remember the specific date, but you know it was within a day or?
Oh, I knew it was the next day.
The next day.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you see Ills in this still photograph?
Yeah, it was just right to the, I believe.
Can you point to him?
This is him right here.
Okay, so I would say it's the only face that we can see on the far left of the photograph to the next to the person in the red jacket you're standing at. Who's the person in the red jacket?
That's right.
Okay. And when the video you actually saw of this, it was longer than just this one photograph, right?
Yeah, it was toasting.
And in the video, could you see more of Ills' face?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Did you see any injury on Ills' face in that video?
No.
Now, I know we've kind of jumped around a little, so I want to go back to the day of the shooting. After the 2 shots that we heard, the defendant and 12E ran away. You said you and Ills separated, correct?
Yeah.
And you walked the same path that you had taken up the street past the W down Hollywood, correct?
Yeah, back to the Lowe's.
Okay. What at that point was your reaction to what had just happened? How are you feeling?
Shit. I felt betrayed. I felt hurt. I felt like, that's why I was texting. I wanted to see where he was at with this situation. I felt like he was just.
Thank you to Josh Schiffer so much for joining us tonight.